You stopped in today. Great. I'm glad you did. Happy Thanksgiving. Just on my way to go and cook some pumpkins. Well, maybe not all. I hope you're having a wonderful Thanksgiving. And if you're seeing this video after Thanksgiving or some other time of year, I hope you're finding something to be grateful for in this shining life. I know that's something that I always look for every day. Please enjoy the video. We had a wonderful time making it for you. And there's a little subscribe button right down here. Make sure you click on it and the little bell right beside it. That way, next time we have something to share, you'll hear about it before most people do. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, or morning or evening, wherever you are. I'm glad you could join us today. I have a very special guest joining us today, who is someone very dear to my heart. So not only is she my business coach, but she is also one of my keto clients, my LCHF nutrition clients. And she has just a wealth of information and knowledge that we're going to ask her to share with us today. And her name is Ranchelle VanBryce. So Ranchelle, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and hello, everyone.
So Ranchelle, can you tell me a little bit about what you do as a business coach?
Sure. So I started out in the sales and marketing world, and so primarily I will coach people who have a business with that type of environment, whether they're struggling with revenue or converting sales. And then this year I added mindset coaching to it, because what I realized was that there's a lot of stuff that goes on in between our two ears that really affects what how we perform in our business. And so I know that we have that similarity with Sharon, because there's a lot of stuff that affects us in between our ears, right? When we go on a program or change our lifestyle. So I think we had that instant, oh yeah, this is relatable both ways, right?
Yeah, definitely. We can be our own worst enemies without putting any effort into it at all.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
So you are someone who has been involved in the health and fitness industry more than once, in more than one way. Can you tell me a little bit about your bodybuilding time?
Absolutely. So I have a great story, and I don't want to not bore everyone with the major details of it, but I did start bodybuilding in 2012 at a time that most women retire. So currently, at the time of this interview, I'm 51. And I started to bodybuild because I was talking with my children about goal setting, and their father doesn't goal set and I do. And so we're just talking about the difference. And as well, my kids are both very competitive in sports. And so I was asking them questions, because I never played sports when I was a kid. And through this amazing conversation with a 16-year-old and 14-year-old, I realized that one of the things I had never done was bodybuilding. And so I decided to take a chance and a risk and bodybuild. And so when I was talking to the kids about goal setting in general, what I said was, you set a goal, you set an intention, you look at what skill gap what you have, and then you certainly do your research, and you take action, and you find a coach. And I've done that my whole entire adult life with every business that I've owned, every endeavor that I've had. I actually go and find myself a coach. I do not go and do the research on my own and then try to figure it out. For the most part, I've done that a couple times, but I'm learning, right? Most are about to do that. So I did. I went out and just before my 44th birthday, decided I wanted to compete for my 45th birthday, and went out and found a coach to guide me and help me do that. And I did bodybuilding for about 3 years. I did three, I'm just thinking 3 or 4 competitions in that time frame. So yeah.
Okay. So one thing that I've always noticed about you that I really quite admire, I've heard you talk about your bodybuilding time several times, and every time you talk about it, you don't talk about who else was in the competition or how they did or what the judges did or said or how they thought or who scored what. You always talk about your own personal goals
Yeah.
and accomplishing your own personal goals, and I find that really admirable.
Well, thank you.
So, at one point, a little earlier this year, you set a new goal for yourself with keto, and that's kind of an ongoing thing with you because you owned more than one gym for quite a while, didn't you? And coached people on weight loss.
I did. So it's interesting. And Sharon and I've had some like frank conversation about this. So I owned Curves franchises I opened my very first one in 2000 and I closed or sold my last one in 2012. And I used to teach all of the weight loss classes. I was everyone's weight loss coach. And in fact, when I was done with the Curves, um, I became a certified coach, and I was certified in several different modalities. One of them being health and wellness through an agency that's no longer around in the States. So the question I always get is, Ranchelle, you're an avid reader. I've known about keto for a long time. I did my research. I have 4 keto books. I listen to keto podcasts. I have keto cookbooks. And then they're like, and you hired a keto coach. And I'm like, absolutely. Because what I have discovered is and we kind of alluded to this earlier, Sharon, is that I'm my own worst enemy. So just because I have the knowledge, right, and the information in my back pocket, just because I've actually coached other women in weight loss, coached them in developing different habits, in mindset, all of that, when it comes to your own personal journey, we have blind spots. We can't actually see our own blind spots. And that's just the way that we are actually programmed. So when we think about our mind, or some people say brain, we have like the subconscious part of our mind and we have the conscious part. And the subconscious is where all of our beliefs lie, our emotions lie, and then we have the conscious mind, which is our thinking and logical mind. So I can think logically exactly what I need to do for keto, right? So it's this many macronutrients, so this is going to happen, and I need this much water, this much supplement, and this much exercise. And then I go, yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And then I get up in the morning and I have a bagel. So, and I know that I shouldn't do carbs for lots of reasons, right? And so it was really interesting, and I tried on my own keto or some other program. When I stopped bodybuilding, I was just trying to think of the date. It was like 2015, 2016. And so have really steadily, and I think this happens too, Sharon, is I steadily gained a pound a month, which you mean, so, and then so let's say 10 pounds a year. Well, 5 years later, that it's not just 10 pounds, it's 50 pounds, right? So 50 pounds from the time that and I'm not even talking about my stage weight, I'm just talking about my regular, going to the gym, prepping to be on stage. A healthy body, percentage of body fat, healthy BMI, healthy.
Right.
And so just because you know what to do doesn't actually mean that you do it. There's a lot of reasons, that a lot of our stopping points, a lot of resistance that we create, a lot of our own stories that get in the way. So I think that I've always believed in coaching, and it is really funny because people go, don't you have like a weight loss? I have actually, and Sharon doesn't know this, I have 3 different certifications as a weight loss coach. And
right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, right. And it doesn't matter. Meaning, right, I'm still not able to guide myself. I need that person who has the knowledge and who has the ability. And Sharon is an amazing coach because she calls you on your shit in a very nice way. She is upfront and kind at the same time, right? So I can't get away with anything with her, which is, it's good and it sucks at the same time.
Well,
it's really good though. Right? It's a compliment. Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, right? Yeah, so a hashtag sorry, not sorry. That's what I always say as a coach. Right? Yeah. And so I think that's been a lot of interesting conversations because of my background, for sure.
Right. And so that one of the next questions that I was going to ask you is what is, knowing that now that you have the certifications that you have and you have the years of coaching experience that you have, what are the benefits that you've found? Because you and I both know, and it's not any surprise to the audience, you can find an absolute mountain of information on keto. People don't need to come to me to ask me what the nuts and bolts are of it. It's something different because you can look up the numbers and you can look up the food. So what is it for you that's different about having a coach? What is it that is offered that's a benefit to you?
Well, so specific to what we're doing with the keto lifestyle, right? And so I think that's the first thing. I mean, I knew that going into it, that it wasn't a diet, but it was a lifestyle. I mean, I used to say that to people all the time as a weight loss coach, right? And so again, it's like you have knowledge, like I know how to, like I know about keto, but how does it actually affect my day to day? So one of the pieces, of course, is the accountability piece. So Sharon and I have talked about, and I don't want anyone to get like really freaked out, right? But Sharon and I have talked about a scale, right? You have a scale. So when I was bodybuilding, I measured all my food. It's a tool, right? So because when you're bodybuilding, you need to know the macronutrients by weight of what you're eating, because you're actually counting calories along with macronutrients. So Sharon's program, of course, doesn't have that. We do,
Yeah.
however, and in bodybuilding, I had a scale that I weighed myself weekly, and I had a coach that I sent pictures to every week, that I would send my weight to every week, and that I would send my weight and measurements every month, so every 4 weeks. So there's something about the human psyche that when we are accountable to report numbers to somebody else, we make different choices. And so literally, if there's like, I love sushi, right? And so there'll be sushi in our house, and I'll go, well, I'll just have one bite. And then I hear Sharon, if you have one bite, you know what happens to your body physiologically. And then she goes, and then goes through the explanation. So that's like, oh shit, you know. So, but I've known that. I used to coach, so I know exactly what happens with, your ketosis when you have a bite. And because I used to talk about ketosis all the time when I taught weight loss. And the difference is when it's just me, I'll go, oh, it'll be okay. Next hour is coming out, or tomorrow is another day. And so there's that procrastination piece, because I can talk myself out of, or into, but out of like anything. So I think that's certainly the first thing, is that just having the other voice, guiding me along. And so that's one. The second piece is just knowing that if I'm struggling with something, then I can text. That's my preferred method, right? Is texting. So I can text Sharon to say, hey, I'm really struggling with this, and it could be a mindset thing. It could be a habit that I'm trying to develop. It could be just relationships that happen because, let's face it, there's always something going on. There's always some sort of party to go to. I lead a very social life. So looking for tips and tricks and things of, what to eat, what can I take, recipes. And yeah, could I go online and search for that? But I gotta tell you, I can make a 5-minute text, or I could search online for 5 hours, literally, because it's never just one thing in research, right? We just kind of go along this rabbit hole. So for me, having a coach saves me time, saves me money, saves the effort. And I know that I have somebody in my corner who's not judgmental, or she's not attached to my releasing of the weight, right? So if I lose weight, it's a huge celebration, from Sharon. And if I don't, then we have a discussion about that. But there's no judgment. So knowing that there's no judgment, and that I'm an accountable, partner, really does help me make different choices, right? And then of course there's knowledge that she has that I forgot that I had. For me in particular, because of my background, I forgot I had. And I'm like, oh, how could I forget that? So I hope I answered your question. Sorry, kind of
You
went
did,
on.
absolutely. And as far as the scale goes, you haven't been using a scale yet, but don't kid yourself. We're getting there.
See, there you go. So I still have one from bodybuilding, so it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good. So
Yeah.
one of the things that is very true with all of my clients is that no two clients are the same. And so you approach things at a different speed, and you approach things maybe from a little bit of a different direction. And um, the goal is to help people be comfortable where they are, so that they, if they're stressing, it's only a little bit about stress about moving forward, not stress about moving forward and stress about where they're at in the moment.
Yeah.
So that's why you haven't seen a scale yet, but we're getting there.
Awesome.
Um, you have 2 adult children, correct?
Yes.
And a full-time job and a part-time job and a partner, and you've got a very full life with a lot of information and love and support, or maybe love and confusion, um, because you've chosen to do something that's a little bit out of the norm for a lot of people. So how a lot of people, when they start keto, their family just kind of shakes their head and rolls their eyes and thinks they're crazy. How have you dealt with that in your family, and for yourself, to so that you can keep going forward with it?
Yeah. Well, I think first 2 or 3 weeks, I mean, no one knew. And that's just our lifestyle. So I just have 2 adult children that live here, and my partner Rob owns his own business. I own my business, and I have a fun part-time job at a shoe store for a friend of mine, right? And so we're all moving at much different paces, and so there was no need for me to talk about it, because we don't eat together as a family very often, right? And so we just have a very independent lives, including Rob and I, right? And so we try to eat together as often as possible, but he's never really paid attention to the foods that I eat. So when we have supper, it is what it is. And so then there's a couple of instances where Rob was like, "Oh, we should do this, we should do that," and I was like, "No, I don't want that." And then I was like, "Well, I'll just have one bite." This is where the one bite thing came from, everybody. And then Sharon suggested that I share with my family, what I was doing, and so I did. And so there's always support from. I'm very fortunate about it. Always.
Oh, I think you've frozen up a little bit on us, Ranchelle. Oh, there, I think you're back now. We seem to have lost our audio with Ranchelle, though.
Can you hear me now, Sharon?
Yes, now I can
Okay.
hear you.
Awesome. Yeah.
So how helpful was that when you sat with your family and explained what you were doing? How helpful was that in helping you to move forward with keto?
You know what? It was hugely helpful and very important. And uh, some of the behaviors. So because Rob loves we talk about sushi, loves sushi, and he'll go in. I've got some new sushi for you, and forgetting, and he's always like, "We'll just have one bite." So what's important, I think, from a coaching perspective, is having a coach there who have kind of conversations of, I have a lot of support, and then just sometimes this person not understanding the effects of what happens when you just have one bite, and passing on certain either information, knowledge, research is a possibility, but even just knowing that if I don't have the support that I think I need from my partner, I certainly have it in my coach. And I think that's important, because I believe sometimes we really support us in every decision we make. And I think they do the best that they can. But that's why you have a coach, right? Because you have the support of your coach. And it far outweighs my coach's support, far outweighs my family support for me personally.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
One of the things that I've found is very true for me in my journey is when I share with people what I'm doing, usually one of the first questions is why? Why would you do that? Why would you give up, whatever food it is they think I shouldn't be giving up? And so when I explain the health benefits for me or for other people, depending on what setting I'm speaking to them in. That not only helps them to understand what I'm doing, but it also gives them reason to be supportive. And so I really encourage anyone who's listening today, please hear what Ranchelle had to say, because sharing with your family, sitting down with them and explaining what you're doing and why you're doing it, it just can be a huge motivator and a wonderful way for you to um, find the self motivation to keep going, because you're not only talking to your family, but you're hearing yourself, and so you're motivating yourself at the same time. Ranchelle, what is it that you have had to give up doing keto that has been a hardship for you? And I'm going to guess sushi, but maybe I'm wrong.
Ice cream. I love ice cream. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what have you replaced it with that makes your mouth happy?
Oh, great question. Um, honestly, I would say at this point in time in my journey, um, nothing, right? I think this, and I think this is a journey, right? We learn different tips and tricks,
Mm-hmm.
so certainly I don't feel like I'm deprived of anything. I don't crave really anything, as far as the cravings have like the first 2 weeks, absolutely, it was just a habit, right? And subsided. And I do believe that that's, and certainly part of it is just having the background of the bodybuilding. I don't find this as strict as the bodybuilding, right? Like the bodybuilding is really, really super strict. So this is much different, and um, knowing that this is more sustainable long term than the bodybuilding. So something happens, and most people don't know this, but when you uh, from the perspective of a bodybuilder, like, and this is just like from that perspective, and when I'm saying bodybuilder, I mean like the people that are on stage, right? Your taste buds are affected greatly by being on a very bland, and I'm going to say diet, lifestyle. Because certainly when you're leaning down, you do low fat with most bodybuilders, not all of them, but my program specifically was low fat. And then there's certain spices you can use, but you have to be careful of other spices when you go on stage, because the spices could retain fluid. And my taste buds were greatly affected by my 3 years. And it got to a point where I really couldn't taste anything. Nothing really tasted good, and I couldn't, and everything was really, really bland. So having now this opportunity to, taste different food and savor the food, it is different. So moving from eating just for energy, because that's what happened. I programmed my brain to eat for energy for bodybuilding. Now it's a lifestyle thing, and making that switch to sitting down and enjoying the taste of food. It's not. It's certainly, it is fuel, but it's a different type of program, right? Different
Yeah.
type of lifestyle.
And eating for pleasure, when you know that what you're eating is going to fill you up when you get to the right amount,
Yeah.
it makes it all right to eat for pleasure. When before you started keto, for all of us, when we're eating large amounts of carbohydrates, that causes craving, which causes more carbohydrates, which causes more cravings, and it ends up being a vicious cycle. But when you're eating something that is nutritious and has lots of healthy fat and is seasoned well and flavored well, and just makes your mouth water thinking about it, you can eat until you're done eating, and your body will tell you when you're done. Where when you're eating carbohydrates, that's not the case.
Right.
So it's all right to eat for pleasure.
Right. Yeah, that's great, and very different.
Oh. Oh, Ranchelle, I am just so grateful that you were able to find time in your day to chat with us today. And I'm sure that we're going to have people that are going to have questions for both of us. So we'll definitely be watching for those questions. And I know for both of us, we'll be happy to help and happy to answer any of those
Absolutely.
questions.
Thank you, Sharon, for the opportunity, for allowing me to share my story, right? I think it's so important, as I said earlier, that we all have a keto coach. And because it's just so much different than having an app. Apps are great, everybody. Technology is awesome. And groups are fabulous for support. However, it is completely different having a coach. I've been on a keto group for 3 years. So it's just
Oh, I
great
didn't know
group.
that
I
either.
love everybody. Right. And it's that commitment. It's that next level of commitment for sure that makes a difference when you have a coach. Thank you.
Well, I am very grateful not only that you joined us today, but to have you as a client, because you really are an inspiration to your friends and family and to me as well. Watching you go down your journey is an honor, and helping you with it is an even bigger honor. So thank you very much for joining me today. And for the rest of you, please keep living your very best version of this shining life. I know I am. And so is Ranchelle. Have a great day. Oh, great. You stayed right to the end. That's awesome. If you haven't clicked on that little subscribe button right down here, please make sure you do. And the little bell right beside it. That way, every time I have something new to share, you're one of the first people to hear about it. I hope you are having a wonderful Thanksgiving and enjoying all of the wonderful keto food that I'm sure that you're enjoying with your families. And I hope you find a way to live your very best version of this shining life today. I know I will. Have a great day.
Sitting back thinking how funny it is that karma has finally found you, and I knew someday you'd be getting what was coming to you, coming to you. Yeah, I told myself to just let it go, sit back and relax, just enjoy the show. Don't waste your time, 'cause you will find